Let's talk about weeing. Yeah, bit of a funny subject perhaps, but very important anyway. In almost every school class there's someone who has trouble weeing or has a wet pants during the day. Maybe even you. I'm gonna show you what's going on in your body and what you can do about it. Some children can't empty their bladder completely. Every time they wee, a little bit of wee is left behind in their bladder, and that can cause a urinary tract infection, which you probably call a bladder infection, which keeps on coming back, so of course you don't want that. Other children aren't very good at holding their water, and they keep on wetting themselves. Right, let's first have a look at what goes on in your body. There's of course a lot in there that, well, isn't important to us now. These are your intestines, and when I take them out, see, here they are, you see your bladder. It's all the way at the bottom of your tummy. These are your kidneys, and they make wee of the liquid that you've drunk and that the body doesn't need anymore. The wee goes all the way to the bladder. And when the bladder is full, that means you have to go to the toilet. Most of the liquid that enters your body when you drink or when you eat, because there's also liquid in food, is used by your body. But what's left is waste, and your body needs to get rid of that. You lose part of that liquid by sweating, and the rest ends as wee in your bladder. Your bladder looks a little bit like a balloon, so let me fill it up with wee. When your bladder is full, you feel that you have to wee. You've known this feeling since you were 3, and of course you also know that that means that you have to go to the toilet. At the bottom of your bladder there is a little door, and it's called a sphincter. You can compare it with your mouth. You can open your mouth all the way, but you can also shut it tightly. Well, that's actually the same with the sphincter. When you're having a wee, your bladder squeezes together and your sphincter opens up. And then you wee. Well, that's what happens if there is nothing the matter, when everything is normal. It is possible that your bladder and sphincter don't work together properly, and then you have a problem weeing. When your bladder is full, you feel like you have to go to the toilet. But when you have a problem weeing, it is possible that when you feel you have to go, you really have to run to the toilet straight away, and even then it is possible that you may be too late. That is also why you have to go much more often than most children who can usually hold on longer. They just put the brakes on. But that's something very difficult for some children, and they really have to clench their buttocks and cross their legs to stop them wetting themselves. This is using the emergency brake. Using the emergency brake often happens without even noticing, and sometimes when the urge is really great, you still wet your pants. The muscles around your bladder are called the pelvic floor muscles, and if you really often tighten them very tightly, they will grow and they will become very, very strong. And if you need to wee, those muscles shut the little door, the sphincter of your bladder, and then the wee can't get out very easily. You see, it's dripping, and therefore there's always some wee left behind in the bladder. There's something else that happens when you often hold on for too long. Your bladder stretches. Your bladder becomes a little bit bigger because there's always too much wee in it. And those strong muscles make you wee a bit at a time instead of one steady flow. This also means that you don't empty your bladder properly. There's always some wee left behind. If you often hold on for too long and you really have to squeeze and force the wee out, you'll have taught yourself to wee in the wrong way. And there are also children who actually have a small bladder, which is also quite bothersome, as it means you have to keep going to the toilet. They suddenly have to go and then only a tiny bit of wee comes out. And if you're too late, well, guess what? You get wet as well. I would like to tell you how to wee in the right way, how to feel your bladder and how to stay dry. Learning how to wee properly and how to stay dry means remembering 3 things. Firstly, how should you wee? Secondly, when should you wee? And thirdly, how often should you wee? Yeah, and where should you wee? But well, of course you know. First of all, we're going to look at how you should wee. Sit straight on the toilet, don't lean forward, and put your feet firmly on the floor. If your legs are too short or the toilet is too high, just put something underneath your feet, like a footstool. Then, relax your tummy muscles, and whatever you do, don't force the wee out. And then listen to hear that your wee is coming out in a steady stream, and then you can empty your bladder completely. We've just seen how to wee, and now comes when to wee. You should wee when you feel the urge, but sometimes you're playing and you just don't notice. But even then, you need to learn how to recognize the signs of your bladder. One way is to ask yourself, do I need to wee? You could say, 1, 2, 3, do I need to wee? And if so, off you go. And if it's been a while since you went, you could also just go and try. What also really helps is when someone around you, like your teacher or one of your parents, just sometimes says, 1, 2, 3, do you need to wee? Now, one more thing, and that's a little bit a tricky thing. How often should you go? Well, it's very important that you go regularly, at least 7 times a day to the toilet. You may go more often, but not less. Some children just don't go that often to the toilet and they need to learn to go more regularly. And other children, they go very often and they need to learn how to hold on. Okay, something else that is really important is that you drink enough. Well, yeah, it doesn't have to be a huge glass full, as long as it's 7 times spread out during the day. And it can be anything: water, tea, lemonade, apple juice, milk, soup, yogurt, as long as it's 7 times. Otherwise you won't have 7 weeings on a day. Right, I've told you a lot of things and you have to remember them all. I'm sure your parents will help you, but in the end it's you that has to do all the work. So, here are all the things one more time quickly. 1. Sit on the toilet properly. Sit up straight, tummy relaxed, and don't squeeze too hard. 2. Try to feel how full your bladder is and make sure you don't get wet. You remember? 1, 2, 3. Well, and the rest is history. 3. Try to wee at least 7 times a day. 4. Drink enough, at least 7 times a day. And then I have one more tip. Every time when you go for a wee, check your undies. And if you're wet, be honest, because that helps best. If you really remember and do all these things, it will really improve. But sometimes children do their very best, but it just doesn't get better. And then it's a good idea to go to the hospital. They can figure out what's wrong, they can give you medicine, or they can teach you special exercises. You still really need to work hard, but a urotherapist will be there to help you. Good luck! And you too. Do your best and I'm sure you'll be all right. Take care!